Betsy and Thomas here for the American Intelligence Media. Today we want to look at the Democrat Party, and you have a long list that you'd like to review with everybody here in our audience. I want to thank everybody as well. You're just amazing information warriors out there. You get it. You understand that what we're fighting is the great information war. You realize that good information are your bullets and bombs in this kind of warfare, and you're taking it and you're spreading it out to your circle of influence, and we are making a difference. So, Thomas, now we need to know about the DEMONrats.
Well, the DEMONrats, instead of actually sitting down and talking about the invasion on our southern border, which is probably one of the worst things that we've ever seen in American history, and ignoring it, matter of fact, acting as if they are Angela Merkel and George Soros themselves, Schumer and Pelosi here in America represent them, saying, come on in, invaders, come on in, Al-Qaeda, come on in, Hamas and Hezbollah. It's just disgusting. So instead of discussing the wall, what they really are doing is, again, they are laying the planks to their platform for the 2020 election. And Trump is letting them do that. He is already building the wall. He's been building the wall for a long time. We're about the only people who've told you that. 6 months after he came into office, he started building the wall. Okay? And so we now know where some of those funds came from the Fence Act and from Homeland Security and from other places. And he's going to build the wall. There's no stopping that. So what's really happening here is he is exposing the DEMONrats for who they truly are. They are criminals. They are human traffickers. They are drug lords. They are organ harvesters. That's what they are. If you do not want the southern border secure, that's who you are by default. So whether you like it or not, by them not really working on the question of the wall, they are really, in fact, showing who they truly are. Now, in the interim, instead of working on the wall, what have they done? They have proposed some of the craziest bills ever in U.S. history. And you have, just amazing socialism taking over the Democratic Party until it has truly become anti-nationalistic, anti-American, anti-constitutional. And the proposed bills that they have, we're going to go through them kind of fast, just so that we can get these out, so that you are reflecting upon the fact that during this lull time, in the 21 days, do not think that the Democrats aren't active in their evil.
Well, let's just say that today is the 5th, and they are on notice for another 10 days. So they've eaten up half their time.
So let's just go over some of the things they did. First thing they did, one of the first proposed bills, and they got it through, was the Holman Clause. They suspended it. It comes automatically with the type of budget that Trump was working with. So what does this really do? No one even knows this clause exists. It's the president can pay a group of people in the federal government $1 for the whole year, and they'll simply go away. He can't cut off agencies, and it's hard to fire these people, but he can reduce their pay. So what was the first thing they did? First bill they passed to do what? To protect the shadow government, to protect the deep state, to protect these bureaucrats. They suspended the Holman Clause to make sure that the senior executive service members could not be fired through this kind of sneaky method of reducing their pay to $1.
Well, now, it doesn't mean you have to reduce it all the way down to $1. The Holman Rule says you can. I mean, they could reduce their salaries by 20%. But what the Democrats have done is they've come and removed it. And I say a big shout out to the patriots out there. It's you guys out there that have been circulating the truth about the Holman Rule and about how it's okay to lie to Congress and all these other things. It's you. You guys out there are doing the work.
That's right. Now, one of the next things they did was they proposed, and it's a bill on the floor, is to eliminate the Electoral College. Well, let's remember that 17 states reported before the election investigation was ended by Mike Pence, and those 17 states indicated as much as 5 million illegal aliens voted. So yes, they want to suspend the Electoral College so that we go to popular vote, so that the non-citizens elect are politicians. Because why? Because those are the people who are going to believe the virtue signaling and the words that come out of their mouth. In other words, all these other things that we're going to mention, these are proposals which are really what the Democrats hang as a carrot before the illegal aliens' mouth. They don't ever get the carrot. But what they do is they come in and they vote for Democrats. And so eliminate the Electoral College, complete crazy talk. It won't work. If you look at the reason why the Electoral College is there, it's simply to basically stop this very thing. In other words, New York and California would basically rule the elections, period. And that's not the way it's supposed to work. All right, so what's the next thing they put on as a proposal, as a bill? That Mueller can't be fired, he can't be stopped, and he can't be investigated by the IG, and that his coup d'etat, well, at least that's what we call it, must continue no matter what. Mueller cannot be touched. Okay, why did they do that? Because that's their impeachment plan. Okay, the next one. Trump can't use nuclear force or even bomb countries. In other words, they tied his hands and they let our enemies know that the entire concept of nuclear deterrent is thrown out the window because the Democrats want to say that Trump isn't fit enough to actually make the determination. Well, tough luck. He's the president, nothing you can do about it, and you can't pass a law that limits the executive control that is determined by the Constitution. So you're a bunch of idiots. Many of these things are just complete hallucinations on the part of these socialist fascist Democrats, and they would like to think that they had the power to do this because obviously they don't even understand how the government is set up and what their job is. A recent one just passed in the Senate that they recommend a resolution that Trump cannot pull out of Afghanistan or Syria. Holy moly! I like what Rand Paul said, basically, in his defense of that, saying that this is stupid. You can't do this. First off, it's a resolution. It means nothing. Second off, you cannot tell the commander-in-chief what to do. No, wrong. That's why he's the commander-in-chief.
Yeah, but that's why they want to leave Mueller in place, because for them, these DEMONrats, their leader is Mueller. Mueller is leading the faction of people that want to destroy America and roll in their globalist agenda.
Absolutely. Mueller has to be consulted on anything the Department of Justice does to make sure that it doesn't touch his investigation. In other words, he's in control of the Department of Justice and the FBI right now. You're absolutely right. And he's demonstrating more power than the DOJ and FBI combined. So why did they say that Trump can't pull out of Afghanistan and Syria? Because they want continuous war. They don't want a president who wants peace. That doesn't make the military-industrial complex money. Doesn't make the warlord, banker, and brokers money. So they literally, I've never even heard of this, passed a resolution to tell the president what to do when he is in fact moving towards peace, and they say, no, we don't want peace, we want continuous war.
Well, at least they're showing what they always wanted. From the Vietnam War all the way to today, this is the party of war. It is a party of death. Let's move on to what they want to do with little babies.
Yes, but also Republicans also voted to stop Trump from getting out of Afghanistan and Syria. They're warmongers. Yes, full-term abortions, basically murder. And then you got to hear, what was it, the governor of Virginia?
Ralph Northam.
Yes, describing what he thought about that. That after the baby's born, they sit around with the mom and the baby. If the mom doesn't feel comfortable, emotionally doesn't want the baby, then you can kill the baby. This is unbelievable. I can't even believe my own ears. I'm hearing this, but it's in New York. It's in Virginia. It's all over the place. And now it's in the Congress.
I want to bring out something, though, that I think people are overlooking, and I hope that somebody will drill down on this. You know, this guy, Northam, he was in the military. He went to a military college. Then he went to medical school. He is a pediatric neurologist. His nickname is Coon Man. We already know how he feels about a certain race. I mean, is he like a Margaret Sanger abortionist going in there to remove with his surgical skills the delicate tissues and nervous systems and organs that these babies have for other nefarious purposes? What exactly was he doing? Now, we know that Ben Carson, who was also a pediatric neurologist or neurosurgeon, I'm not sure what the subtle differences are there, but he was an amazing surgeon. But we don't hear anything about Ralph's history as a surgeon. I would like to know, what exactly was he doing with his pediatric patients?
Well, I think that if you look at the way the Democrats have turned on him so quickly, demanding that he immediately resign, I think you're hitting the nail on the head.
I think they're worried
it
about what
opened
else.
up a can of worms, and they found out that this guy is a eugenist, and that the eugenist movement in America, basically to kill people, I mean, just murder people. It doesn't matter, Now it's babies, later it'll be old people. Doesn't matter. It just removes the crime of murder for babies. I mean, this is just beyond imagination. And then 500 million. Of course, they just passed a bill to give to Planned Parenthood, who turns around and gives 50 million back to the Democratic Party. Tell me that isn't corruption. Tell me that isn't election campaign fraud. But anyway, Planned Parenthood should be Planned Anti-Parenthood or Planned Abortionhood, because that's all they do. They don't plan anybody's parenthood. They just kill babies. And then there's the aid, the Secretary of State U.S. aid. They tried to decrease it. Trump decreased it. They couldn't take it. Pelosi demanded to have that $12 billion put back in so it would go back up to $86 billion. Because why? She wanted to help build borders and walls in other countries that are not even our friends. And so they demanded putting $12 billion back in there. So when Trump tries to cut money by not giving this fake U.S. aid money to countries that don't deserve it, what do? No, they put it back in. Okay, another crazy Democrat thing. How about 90% tax? 90% tax, that's higher than most socialist countries that drive them into complete despair like Venezuela. But 90% tax, you see the insanity of these people who are the fascists who wish to redistribute the wealth of those who are very rich in America, the billionaires. They want to take the money from the billionaires. Well, guess what? 1 year you do that. The next year they won't be billionaires. And they won't make that money, and there'll be no more billionaires left to go after. It's completely stupid. It's like listening to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez talk. It is just astounding that she's been elected, and after we heard her speak, and people in New York have heard her speak, that they haven't recalled her. They need to recall her immediately. She doesn't know what she's doing. She's a danger to herself and everyone around her. And then, of course, the Democrats want to have complete health care takeover by the government. Basically Medicare for everyone. But if you've ever been on Medicare, you'll know that that's a terrible thing. So that's like a condemnation. That isn't a solution. So they want to take over health care. Amazing. Then they want to repeal the Trump taxes and make it illegal to cut taxes. Unbelievable. That if this does not sink the Democratic Party permanently, I don't know what will. These are the planks of their platform for 2020, folks. Is there anyone out there with a brain who is going to vote for the Democrats? Because if you have a brain, listen to what is being said. Listen to the laws that they want to propose. And then ask yourself, if you want to even live in the country where these people are elected as political officials, or even if you want to live next door to them, because these are crazy people, these are crazy ideas, and it gets crazier as it goes along. Let's go to one of the craziest ideas. How about Elizabeth Warren's ethics bill? Well, it starts off very nice, saying that, ex-politicians, including presidents, cannot be lobbyists. Very nice. But then it goes into describing ethics and ethical dangers and ethical problems and ethical violations according to her own ethics bill. The very person who has no ethics, who claimed to be American Indian, got a scholarship to an Ivy League college. We now know she's not American Indian, and yet she still goes on touting it and runs for president. Unbelievable. We're in a crazy age. But in this Elizabeth Warren ethics bill, it states all these things that the president cannot do while in office. He must sell all his businesses. He must give the last 10 years of his tax returns. He must make all this stuff that has never, ever, ever been part of being the president before. She hopes that if this passes, that they can use these as violations, saying that Trump violated these, so they can use it for impeachment. We are talking stupid to the stupid power. How about Dianne Feinstein's? Dianne Feinstein wants to continue catch and release. She wants to continue anchor babies. She wants to continue all of the immigration violations of our existing laws by the Stop Family Separation Bill. If you stop the families, and she says there's no such, she puts forth the argument, there's no such thing as separating a parent from a child. Wrong. If a parent commits a crime in America, they go to an adult jail, and if they have a child, the child goes into social service. Okay? Separate parent from child. Matter of fact, that child may not see that parent for a long, long time. So it is complete insanity, complete stupidity, complete ignorance, and basically brainwashing and attempted mind control, total Tavistock mind bending, that they're attempting to say that separating families is the issue. That's not the issue. These aren't families. The people who come across the border, 9 out of 10 of them do not have any documentation, but they say that the child that is with them is their child. Who says so? It could be a trafficked child. In other words, if we keep them together, we could just be perpetuating human trafficking. And then when we release them, because catch and release, because we don't have a place to keep parents and children together in one facility, we release them. Basically, we release them to human trafficking, sex trafficking, organ harvesting, and every other imaginable horrible thing you can think of, which we saw during the Obama era, and we have plenty of proof of. So Dianne Feinstein, you didn't trick us. The Stop Family Separation is simply to go back to the Obama chaos of ignoring our current immigration laws and acting upon these orders of Obama not to carry out our immigration laws. Okay, so that's another one of the crazy things. Let's see. What else is there? There's, of course, the laws that they put forth, the bills banning all semi-automatic weapons. What is a semi-automatic weapon? That's most of the guns out there. I mean, it's absurd. So they try to use, the phrase semi-automatic or assault rifle, and then they say that a .22 is an assault rifle. No, this is nothing more than a gun grab. This is nothing more than what Obama signed when he was the president, the Small Arms Treaty, which he signed. The Congress won't even look at because, of course, it would never pass. And then he moved in UN troops to get ready under the auspices of this Strong Cities initiative. He moved in the very troops and the equipment that it would take to take the weapons from Americans. And so this was their plan. This is what the Dems will do the second they get a Democratic president, is they will, and if they have the House and the Senate, they will, if they can, take away all guns. And they will shoot you to take your gun, as we've already seen in other states when they go after some type of specifically named state limitation on what type of weapon you can have. They go to take them, and they get into a gun battle in some cases, and they've killed people. Oh, yeah, that's good. So how about the minimum $15 an hour wage for everyone across America? Look in the places they've done that. It makes businesses close. It's one of the worst things for small business owners, especially with very large overheads and very thin budgets that they have to work with to add $15 an hour as a minimum wage. As we say, the cities and the states that have done that, it has worked very poorly. How about supporting the Maduro regime? There's a good idea for the Democrats. Yes, let's put forth a bill saying that President Trump must support the socialist fascist regime that is being supported in Venezuela, that is being supported by supporting Maduro by who? By the Russians and by the Chinese, by communists, by Cuba, and by every other communist nation has chipped in to help Venezuela, as they have basically shown that the experiment of socialism doesn't work and that communism doesn't work. The only thing that works after you try those failed systems is a dictatorship, and that's what Maduro is. He's a dictator. And so he has tried to blame it all on sanctions from America, but that isn't the truth. It was because he basically borrowed money from China and Russia, and they want it back, and they want more. They now want more controls, but then they don't want a control of a country that's gone crazy with basically a civil war of poverty against their own socialist government. So yeah, let's give a bill that says that we support that. No, that's crazy. Again, the Democrats are showing everyone who they are. And why? Because Trump has caused the polarization, and they believe they get to be as mean as they want because they imagine that's how mean Trump is. It's like a mother who tells a child no, and then the child gets really angry at the mother. That's what the Democrats are. Trump has told them no more lawlessness, no more lying, no more cheating, no more stupidity, no more bad trade deals, no more kowtowing to the insanity of the open borders of George Soros. No. He told them no, they're crying. And so what did they do? Now they're overreacting because of their anger, and they put forth the bills that show truly who they are. Now, some of these bills could be considered crazy. They won't work. They're lovely ideas. I would love some of these ideas to happen. But the only way they can come up with a penny to support them is to supposedly rob the rich and give to the poor. And remember, that only works for 1 year. And then after that, you have total chaos because the rich people you just robbed and you had 90% taxes on, you just took the money that they needed to run their businesses. Now those businesses collapse and the people who work there don't have jobs. It's just ridiculous. Anyone who wants to try to argue for socialism, or what I found amazing in the last few days is the pathetic arguments of the Democrats for why there should be no barrier on the southern border, why we should have an open border. It's like you're talking to insane people. It's like they're on drugs and they themselves are not in contact with reality. But they continue to say it and they continue to stick together like a pack of wolves. Other ideas they put forward? Free college for everybody. That'd be good, but we could redo our systems and basically be able to provide free education, but not through robbing the rich and giving to the poor. So the way that they want to get free college is just absurd, and drop all student loans without having to repay them. That's great. They're not going to work. Basic income guarantee. Okay, that hasn't worked anywhere in the world. And it's a proposal that keeps coming up when people have really a lack of imagination, I would have to say, no creativity in their minds. Then you come up with the idea of the basic income. No, it's not going to work. Amnesty for all of the illegal aliens in our country. That is sheer insanity. The reason is because, and yes, I'm going to point out something that I don't usually point out, that many visa overstays create a lot of these illegal aliens in our country. They're criminals too, because they knew they committed a crime. But those are the 22 million that the FBI knows exactly who they are, what their name is, usually where they're living, and all about them. It's just that we don't deport them, because Obama didn't deport hardly anyone who had committed a crime. He deported who he wanted to, just to make it look that he did some deporting. But he invited in our enemies and deported our friends. Now, amnesty for all is, unfortunately, folks, as now the president has tweeted out, 25 million, there's at least 25 million illegal aliens. 22 million of them are recognized by the FBI. They're identified. That is the tip of the iceberg. No, double that amount. Yeah, double the amount. Because many of the people who are arrested that comprise 43% of the prisoners in our federal prisons and well over 50% of our prisoners in state prisons, they are oftentimes non-documented. And that gives you a tiny example of the missing illegal aliens that are not in the documented 22 million illegal aliens. Now, mind you, they're all criminals, and they knew they were criminals when they did what they did. And they haven't done anything to rectify it, and they don't intend to. And you can arrest them all you want. They're going to go out and commit crimes in many cases because they're criminals who came up from Mexico and from Central America. They were criminals there, and they didn't want them. They kept releasing them from their prisons so that they could come up here. And for some reason, they don't put the law enforcement officers in jail who release these criminals, who they know are murderous criminals, before the ICE officers get there. by the way, that's another thing the Democrats want, is to abolish ICE. That's insanity. Abolish ICE. That's like saying, please, we want anarchy. Let's abolish all police. We just want anarchy. That's all we want is anarchy. Sorry, we just are so focused on anarchy. All we can say is give amnesty to 40 million illegal aliens. Let's just call it 22 to be conservative, 25. And then we're going to abolish ICE. We're going to leave the borders open. And, and we're going to give social services to anybody who comes across who claims asylum. And all you have to do to claim asylum is say, I seek asylum. I was afraid of the gangs in my country. I was afraid they would hurt me or my children. That's it. They are basically coached to say that. That doesn't work. And yet that's what caused catch and release of literally millions and millions of asylum seekers during the Obama era. So, sorry, amnesty for all, not going to work. Abolish ICE, not going to work. How about this one, the one that they really, really, really did early on, the second they could, is demand that all candidates give their tax returns for the last 10 years because they just want Trump's tax returns no matter what. They'll do anything. They think they're going to find something in Trump's tax returns that they can use for impeachment because they can't find it anywhere else. Now, what are they not working on? What are the Democrats not working on? The wall, crime, drugs, human trafficking, DACA, the attacking caravans, the insanity of George Soros's open society, open border philosophy, and the 184 non-government organizations he just gave $18 billion to work against the Republican Party and Trump. They're not talking about anchor babies. They're not talking about the real numbers of immigrants. Oh, immigrants? No, these are not immigrants. These are invaders. None of them came here without knowing they were committing a crime. Not a one of them. Not a one of them lives a day of their life not knowing that they're committing crimes. And, of course, to have an anchor baby, then they think, oh, I'm okay now because Obama was so fond of anchor babies and so fond of bringing young people to the border and just letting them go. Unaccompanied minors program. That was basically human trafficking, and it was showed all over the place, and so he backed off of that one. But still, how many last year? 60,000 unaccompanied minors? In other words, these are children who were stolen, who are used to get across the border. They get across the border, they get into the country, or they come up with somebody who brings them to the border. They then get human trafficked in the Obama era. Now we have to keep them together with their parents if we can find their parents. So we have to literally look around the country to find the illegal aliens that we know are here, to join those criminals with the unaccompanied minors. Is anyone paying any attention to the insanity of the fact that Congress will not pass immigration laws that make sense, and they will not enforce the ones that we have? They are criminals, demon rats. We don't call them demon rats for nothing. These are people who are fighting against our own laws. It's not just lawlessness. It is conscious crime. And Pelosi and Schumer know exactly what they're doing. And the next 2 years are going to be nothing more than what they've spent most of their time. I just mentioned some of the things they did. There's probably at least as many other bills put out there that I have not tracked down or heard about because they are absurd, they're ridiculous. But the number one thing they're spending, the Democrats, all their time on in the House is the impeachment calendar. That's right. There's been no crime that Trump has committed, yet they are spending all your money, all your tax dollars are going for creating a calendar for impeachment so that they can make sure that they do everything in order in the right period of time and meet the time standards in the 2 years that they have before the next election so that they can go right up to the moment of that election attempting to impeach Donald Trump. And if they could, the reason that has to go now is because, and has to happen, is because the Mueller investigation's winding down. He has nothing. It's a nothing burger. on a gluten-free bun. It is nothing. And so they have to start up the impeachment proceedings. But as they said, we don't care if there's a crime. We're going to start the impeachment proceedings until we find a crime. And so Dianne Feinstein's ethics bill is an attempt to, after the fact, create laws that then they can try to hold over Trump's head and say he committed a crime because they can't find any crimes he committed. So, DEMONrats, we got your number. We know what you're up to. You're not doing a good job. And the bills that you put forward are the planks in your platform for your 2020 failure, your 2020 red wave that is going to put Trump back in the White House. And after that, from day one, after his second inaugural speech, he will simply enact all of the rest of the things that he has on his list. And his list is much longer than the list I just went through. And they're good things like peace, draw back the troops, protect our country, infrastructure, stop the tax dodging, stop the offshore accounts, stop the market manipulation, stop the U.S. Federal Reserve manipulation, stop giving any money to the United Nations, stop supporting corporations in foreign countries with our military, stop the genocides that were started in Africa by Susan Rice and continued with Obama and Hillary Clinton. Millions and millions of Africans have been ruthlessly murdered by the Obama administration. We don't even talk about it. We don't talk about Susan Rice being the mother of genocide in at least 5 countries in Africa. So what we're talking about here is the Democrats are showing who they are, and some of the Republicans are showing who they are, like this stupid resolution to get out of Afghanistan, to not get out of Afghanistan and Syria. The Republicans who voted for that showed that they're rhinos and they're not MAGA and they just need to go. And I hope that the electorate is paying attention to who is putting forth what bills, who is voting for those bills, and even if those bills don't come to the floor, just look at the crazy insanity of the people who put forth those bills. And please, folks, take voting more responsibly next time. And as we work on improving the electing process, basically the stopping OPTEC and stop using digital machines owned by politicians and owned by Jeffrey Patty and owned by Mitt Romney and other people who have vested interests who have been controlling elections for a long, long time. Once we get back to paper ballots and having paper ballots to back up every single vote, and once we have some tighter voting rules, and once we have some tighter election campaign rules, and once we get to term limits, and once we get to the very law that Trump has basically put forward as a suggestion to his staff is no lobbying once you've worked on the Hill. No, of course not. And so all the things that Trump wants to do, all the things he's doing, all the things he's going to continue to do, are all being fought against tooth and fang by the DEMONrats with the bills that they're putting forward, which in fact should be the death knell of the Democratic Party.